Welcome to the Uplift, where we are uplifting our lives, uplifting each other, and uplifting our communities together. Thank you for joining myself, Cy Herrera, and Tessa Savala here, two women, two attorneys, doing it our way, and inviting you here each week to share in on the stories, advice, and life lessons we've picked up along our journeys that keep us uplifted, and that will hopefully do the very same thing for you. Now buckle in and let's get ready to be uplifted.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. As always, I'm Tessa, and I'm joined by the lovely Cy.
Hello, hello. Happy to be here.
I was listening to Lizzo's special this morning, it's kind of encouraging everybody to remember that they are special and they have these unique skills and attributes, and they bring something to the table. And then on the flip side, I was thinking, like, wow, we also really limit ourselves. And reminded me as you're scrolling through social media during the week, and I saw this post about a quote from a conversation between Oprah and Michelle Obama, where Oprah asked Michelle Obama if she ever got over the feeling of being intimidated at some of these, sitting down at some of these really powerful tables. And Michelle Obama's response was, "You realize pretty quickly that a lot of them aren't that smart." I know it's taken a while for me to realize that
I
true,
love
but
that.
it's so true. And
Yeah.
if
And how many times do we think like, oh, we're gonna be the least smart person,
yes,
the least experienced person? Yeah.
yeah. And how do we as society emerge to the point where some of us assume that we need to know more, and other of us are so I don't know if it's confidence or brazen or assume that we know everything when we really know nothing, right? Like, is it that they're confident that they know the answer, or if it's confident they think they're cool enough to be there? And why don't we
Mm.
all have that? Why don't we all feel that special to sit at that
They
table?
feel worthy of being there. Yeah, one of the things that helps me, I guess, generally is in law school, they teach you that you don't have to know all the answers. You just have to know how to get all the answers.
Isn't that the
And
greatest lesson of law school?
yes, it really
Yeah.
is. It really is. You're just like, oh, like this is what resourcefulness means. Like this is like, and it does give you that confidence to be like, yeah, I'm an attorney. Like you feel good about that. And people like think you already know everything, which is interesting about, the profession overall. But we don't. We actually don't know everything. We're just like, yeah, we can figure it out, and we do have the tools to do that, right? But I think we should translate that to everybody. Everybody should know that
Yes.
and have the confidence that first of all, you don't have to know everything to be at the table, and second of all, anything you don't know, you can figure out. And that's what I think that these people have that are already at the table. They either think that they can figure it out or that they're just worthy to be there because they have something of value that they add, whatever it might be. It might not be what you add, but they might think, well, I have my connections, for example, or whatever it is, and they're bringing that, and so they think, yeah, I deserve to be here.
What you were saying made me think of, it's not even just the people who are at the table, it's when we apply for the jobs to get us to the table, right? Like some
Mm,
of us won't even apply because we don't think we're qualified.
we count ourselves out before we even try.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
And those
absolutely.
people who are at that table who are, what I might say overconfident, or perhaps it is the right amount of confidence and I am misinterpreting this situation and limiting them. But we all need that confidence to know that we can be at that table for the exact
Yeah.
same reasons that you point out, that we don't need to have the answers. We just need to know how to find them.
hmm Yeah, and even if you don't know how to find them, I mean, the other thing I've learned is that I can find somebody who knows how to find them,
Hmm.
which is a whole other skill that, people don't necessarily value, right? They're like, I
Yeah.
remember there was a point in time where I was going to apply for a job and I looked at my experience on my resume and I thought, this does not capture my capabilities. This captures the opportunities that I have been allowed And
Mhm.
that's it. That's the end of it. And so I created a whole new section that was my capabilities profile. And I let people know what I'm good at. And they might, what are they going to say? No, you're not. I'm going to say, let me show you. Let me prove it to you.
I
So,
love this.
and I think it really worked out because I got to really highlight like things that I know are valuable that are not, I wasn't given the opportunity to prove yet. And one of those things was being like a servant leader. Like that was one of the things that I realized, like, oh, people have recognized this in me. People have not been able, I have not really been able to show that off or like, put it into action or really serve as a official leader, with the title. But at the time, I was already doing it. Like I was already organizing people. I was already like encouraging people, building people up. Like all of that stuff is leadership qualities. That's what
Mhm.
they are. They're leadership qualities, and I was not being given, opportunities and titles to be a quote unquote leader, but I was already behaving as one, and I knew that I had that skill set, and so I put it there because I believe it and know it to be true, and nobody's gonna tell me otherwise. And I knew I could show it if I given the opportunity. So I think tell your truth and know all that about yourself and let other people know.
I love that. And how do you think we get across that bridge, right? Like, how do we is it just that we just have to do it for the first time? Do we
Mm.
need the crowd around us encouraging us that we can do this? Is it a, like, kismet moment where it just comes to us? Is it that we're seeing other people doing it?
Mm.
Or
Yeah,
is
well,
it
yeah. There's a lot of, I mean, it could be different for everybody, I would say, obviously, but for me, anyways, I think it's all an inside job. That's the part that I've taken away from this is that every bit of what you can and cannot do is determined by what you think you can and cannot do. And so,
Yeah. Mhm.
and so whatever it takes for you to believe that, you need to consciously, intentionally, and thoughtfully get that in your life, whatever it is. Whether it's you need to tell yourself every day, whether it's you need other people to tell you, then surround yourself with people that can tell you. For me, it was literally like sometimes it was literally like let me look at what other people do, what they know, and what they're doing, and I just seeing them and knowing that, like, yeah, I see what you're doing. I know I can do that. Like that built confidence in me. You know what I mean? Or I wanted to add something to that. And that made me feel worthy of just like going for it, and having that position so that I could have the opportunity to do that. So I think it could be so many different things. And yeah, it probably can take time and different experiences in life, but I would say this, definitely be intentional about what you want and get closer to it and learn as much as you can because the more you see behind the curtain, the more you realize it's just, a lot of like smoke and mirrors and there's like don't pay attention
Right.
to that man behind the curtain. You know what I mean? Like you're like, "Oh, it's not it's you demystified the whole situation." And that's what I say. I say, go, swing the curtain open, go check out what's going on back there, and don't be intimidated by it anymore because the less you know, the more intimidated you're going to be.
Right, like that what was that childhood after school special, The More You Know, or something like that,
Mhm,
right? And I think that's
mhm.
us we need to pay more attention to the people in power, whether it's, in our families or in our jobs or in our schools or in our friendship circles, because they either hold the clue or we're gonna realize they don't actually know everything that we thought
Yeah,
they knew.
yep.
And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, and it's not about calling them out on it. It's more about
Mm-mm.
us realizing, "Oh, so they don't know everything. That means I can do it too because I don't know everything." And
Exactly.
maybe everyone doesn't really know everything. And,
That's the scary and the true and the comforting part all at the same time. I don't know how it's both, but it's, like, scary and comforting at the same time, where you're just
it
like, "Yeah, I should be in this too."
right? Like, I don't like the phrase "fake it till you make it" just because
Mhm.
it seems so, like, um, for me, it's like the word hustle. I don't like the word hustle because it's about, essentially screwing people over, right? A real hustle is. And I think
Mhm.
fake it till you make it is kind of the same way, but it's also the reality of all these people that we've thought were just these perfect individuals who knew everything.
Mm.
they don't. And if it takes us to fake it till we make it, if we can't accept the fact that, hey, we too deserve to be there because we too don't know everything,
Mhm.
either road that gets you there, I'm cool
Yeah.
with it.
I am too, but I will say, like, as you were saying that, what came to mind for me is fake it till you make it seems to me like a lot of saving face. Like, that's the technique of, just kind of forcing your way by saying like, "Oh yeah, I knew that," or that was my idea," or taking credit for this or that, like, because you're trying to prove yourself to somebody.
Hmm.
And I know that everybody has like their different like agency in the world, or wherever they are in their life as far as how much power they have over their world, etc. But I would also say, if and when you can, the bigger goal for me should be to change the culture where people do not have to save face all day and do not
Yeah.
have to posture and do not have to fake it, right? Where people can come and be vulnerable and say, you know what, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to talk to some people. I'm going to find a solution here, or, I'm going to come back to you with some ideas and we can work on that together. Like, that's the kind of world that I want to live in, where people are not having to just to just posture all day and try to look like they know things that they don't know. Like, that honestly is not going to get us to a good place. Actually, what will get us to a good place is for everyone to be like, I respect you for what you bring to the table, please respect me for what I bring, and let's solve some problems together. Like, that's the culture that I would want to live in.
That makes me think of two different things. One is that I wish people were allowed to change their minds and to
Mm.
adapt and to pivot. And maybe we're getting to a point where pivoting is more appropriate. But I feel as though we expect our leaders, or whether or not it's,
Mhm.
again, for our country or for our families or for our businesses, to make one decision and for that decision to stick forever. And
Yep.
I think it's more important, I know you and I have talked at length about it, is to have a culture and an identity that is intentional. But I think all the decisions that are related to that can be flexible. But somehow we've decided that nope, no flexible ideas. We're just going to have one idea and we're just going to keep on sticking to it. And that's weird to me, right? Like there should be
Mhm.
adapting and changing as you like think about Blockbuster. Like, was it their idea to just stick to it? And they were just gonna, like,
Mm.
stick to it through Netflix and it was gonna be okay, and they
Yeah.
were gonna
Yeah.
survive as a business?
Right.
Or
Right.
could they have pivoted and become a competitor to Netflix?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and, the other thing that came to mind for me is we don't have to have a single, just leader anymore too. Like, that's the other I think that's the other just, like, limiting mindset that we have in groups and in societies and countries, of just, like, focusing in on one person, and then it's like every single thing that they say is, is everything, every mistake that they make is everything. It just seems like so much like life and death situation stuff, whereas if you have set up a process, and a culture by which, the group, the collective is bringing so much together, then you're going to have so much more rich results. Like, you're going to have, even people talk about this all the time with diversity. It's like you are going to have something stronger than the sum of your parts when you bring people together. So that's the other part. I know we got off from like the individual experience, but I mean, whenever you have the opportunity, bringing that piece in and not being sorry for changing your mind, or
Right?
even being mistaken or changing course. I like changing course. Like, why not? Like, we're going to do this
Yeah.
even smarter. Let's change course. That's the right thing to do now, right? Like, why can't we just, let each other be humble enough to learn from what we're doing, what we're experiencing, the mistakes, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, why can't we just do that together? That's the part that I don't really understand, and I think it has a lot to do with ego, to be frank. And
It kind of reminds me, like, I think maybe what we started off talking about limiting ourselves and whether or not we deserve to sit at that
Mhm.
table.
Mhm.
I think maybe we're doing that to our leaders too, that we're limiting them and
Mm,
saying that they have to stick to their, like, whatever their pinnacle
100%.
idea was.
And also stick to the culture that has been set,
Right.
right? Like, I'm in nonprofit work, and what astounds me is how this whole thing is set up almost exactly like a corporation. I find that astounding, actually. I really do, because I get that, like, this is structure. This is something that works as a, as a system, as a structure. Like, this is something that's, I guess, proven in some ways, or at least it's familiar anyways. But why in the hell are we doing the same thing that the for-profit companies are doing? Like, they're for profit, we're not for profit. Like, we're literally, like, completely opposites. So I just find that really interesting, just as an observer. It's just interesting to me that that's what has happened, and that there's this limiting mindset that that's the way it has to be because your favorite, that's the way it's always been done.
Oh, yes, totally my favorite. And, I think I would apply this to government too, somebody who works
Mm,
in and around politics, right? Like, there are politicians who believe that the government should function like a business. And I'm like,
mm.
the government's not in the business of making money,
Right,
right? The
right,
government
right.
provides services, much like a nonprofit provides
Yeah,
services.
yep,
And I think
exactly.
we've applied those rules to all these other entities that don't even fit inside that same box. And it's
Mhm.
bizarre.
It really is, and you know what I think? And I think one of the causes is that this country is so centered on money,
Hmm.
that it's enculturated. It's just like this is what everybody thinks is value, right? Is money is value. So profit, I should say specifically profit is value, because that's where people are going with it. Like, even in the nonprofit world, like, I've heard so many times, like, oh, this person has become the executive director because they had for-profit experience. What? I just don't understand.
And
That confuses me.
I'm confused in politics because I think the economy is changing from a shareholder driven economy to a stakeholder driven economy. So back before
I
Milton
do.
Friedman came up with this whole trickle down thing where
Mhm,
profit was king and profit was only to enrich the shareholders, we lived in a country, while it had many, many issues, corporations took care of their employees, right? Like, there
mhm,
was a healthy pension system and there was healthcare, and there was this idealization of the worker in many ways. And there were issues, but it was a
mhm,
stakeholder economy where companies thought more broadly than just enriching their shareholders. They thought about taking care of their stakeholders first. And I think in many ways, with adopting ESG and other, like, how we become more sustainable, how do we consider company wellness, we are seeing that shift with the major money investment people to this, back to a shareholder, back to a stakeholder economy where we're concerned about our supply chain and how are those employees being treated, where are we getting our products from, and are our products good or not good. And I'm hoping we see some shifts in that, right? Like, where we no longer have those assumptions that we placed on them and they're allowed to pivot and change. But I think, as we see in any newspaper we pick up, there are people who are for this and there are people who are against this. And there are people who are like, nope, we made this decision that trickle down was best and we were going to just
mhm.
consider the shareholders. Like,
We're saving
well,
face as a country, my God, 30, 40,
yeah,
50 years later or whatever, like,
even though all the data
wow.
shows you make more
Right,
money when you
right,
care about your stakeholders and you care about your
right.
employees and you care about how people are treated and what you're doing to the earth.
Yes, exactly, exactly, especially in the long term. I don't know, yeah, like, that shift of, like, almost like long-term thinking versus short-term, like the quarterly
Yeah,
reports, like, that's such a killer, such a society killer, like,
it
that is
is,
just
isn't it?
why, and but the breaking away is so interesting, like, how does that happen? And it's interesting because, who is setting the rules? I think that's another like kind of meta thing in
Yeah,
this whole conversation is like who is setting the expectation, the rules, the social norms, like who is setting it and why? Why do they get to set it too? You know, and that's
exactly.
just generally like as a whole society, like we're talking on the macro level, but you could talk about it in the smaller settings of society, including down to the individual, right? Like we
Yeah.
will say to ourselves, we can't even apply for this job because it says that they want a person like this, and I'm sure there's so many other people that have more experience than me. You're already telling yourself that you can't do it, that you're not worthy, that
Yeah.
you're not valuable, and I always say like let them decide.
Right? Why are you making
And
that decision for them?
yeah, that's not your decision to make. And I do the same thing with donors. Like you never make up your donor's mind for them, right? Like give them the
Yep.
opportunity to decide if they want to contribute in this way or that way. And it's the same thing. And I also for job seekers right now, I always say like just cast a wide net and see what comes back.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather have more options than less? And the reason I have created these these philosophies in my life is because not just for me, like I went through it, but like everybody in my family, everyone in my friend circle they've all had this thing where they're like, no, I'm not gonna apply for that. I don't qualify for that. I don't have that many years experience, et cetera, et cetera, et
Yep.
cetera. And I'm just like, nope. Like, let me just tell you a whole wildly different concept because you know what? It's free to apply, first of all.
Mhm.
Doesn't
Mhm.
cost you any money, so it's free to apply. So why not? It'll be great practice for you. If nothing else, if you get an interview, even better, even more practice. I'm like, second of all, you might build relationships. You might have new opportunities that you didn't even know you could have. They might know somebody who needs you for exactly what you do and what you love to do and what you're looking for. You don't even know that. And thirdly, wouldn't you rather have more options than less? That's at the end of the day, it's
Yeah.
as simple as that. Like, wouldn't you? And I mean, this also counts for, what else is interesting is like not even that people are scared of not getting the job and so they don't apply. Like they're scared of rejection essentially. The other interesting thing is that some people are scared of getting it. And that
Yeah.
that's really really fun because and it does relate to this holding yourself back before you even get started thing because people will think, what if I get this job? Then maybe I have to move, or maybe I have to, I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to change this. I'm going to have to change that. It's going to be a lot of work. And, what if I can't do it? What if I'm not good at it? What if one day somebody told me I was scared because I was applying for a job that I thought, was a really big leap in my career. And I had this amazing friend who was just like 6 months. I was afraid of getting it. I wasn't afraid of not getting it. I was afraid of getting it. And she said, 6 months, get in there. If you can hold on to that job for 6 months, you can put it on your resume and get another one that's like the same level. Now you've
Yep.
increased your salary, you've increased your title. Like no one can take that away from you. Do it for 6 months. And I was like, 6 months? I can do 6 months. I can do 6 months of anything. And that's all that
Mhm.
it took for me to get over my limiting mindset at the time of like, I'm not good enough to take this, or I'm scared that I'm not good enough. Like I didn't know whether or not I could do the job. I really did not. I really did not know. I just thought this is the kind of work I want to do. I think I would be good at it. I don't really know. I'm scared of what's going to be on the other side of this because I don't know what it looks like. And it just took that little like comfort, to know like this is just you just have to do this one thing and you only have to do it for this amount of time, and just having that finite thing that I could hold on to, that just helped me take a leap of faith.
And for me, I was practicing law, and I decided I didn't want to practice law any longer because I thought it was just a bunch of angry people who were just
Oh,
trying to like
yeah.
have their problem solved. And then I made this strange choice, like I want to work in politics, where obviously there's no angry people in politics. But let's ignore that I had blinders on for that part. But I made the conscious decision I wanted to change. I had
Mm,
no experience in politics. I was not from Texas, where I was living at the time.
mm,
So I just literally wrote every politician in the county
mm.
an open letter. One of the like 30 people who were in Harris County replied, and I ended up working for that woman for 13 years. You just don't know. And you should
Wow.
just stick your toe in and figure it out. Did I know how to write laws? No. Did I learn pretty quickly? Yes.
Yep. And you know what I love about that story too is that you did not wait for the societal structures that already exist to deliver this opportunity to you, like, you created your own opportunity, and I am
Yeah.
obsessed with that because I really think that, first off, most of our world is created through socialization. It's not like physical
Mhm.
limitations. We are creating it through all of these little rules and social norms that we have in society, right? And job hunting is one of them, right? Like if you told
Yep.
somebody today, like, how are you going to get a job? I think the first thing that they would do is go online and probably, look at Indeed and be like, well, what's available? And you're just taking from whatever somebody else has put out there as they are, intentionally looking for this person with this qualifications. And then it's all about you trying to fit into that box that they have set out. What you did, Tessa, is so inspiring because you decided, let me sit back, be reflective of what I would really enjoy in my life, what would be enriching, what's the future that I want. And you just started creating it, like, and you just reached out and said, who wants to, involve me in this? Who wants to take advantage of this new direction I'm taking in my career? And I wish that everybody, even if they did find their job, through Indeed or what have you, would just take a time to sit back and say, what do I really, really want in
Yeah.
my, career, in my life, in my relationships, like in everything. And that's something that I sometimes, do consciously prompt people to do because like I notice when I meet a lot of friends that I've worked with in the past, they'll, of course, like talk about work and like what's going on with work and how's your job, etc., which is nothing wrong with that. But I'm always the first one to be like, are you happy? Is this what you want to do in the long
Yeah.
is this what you want to do in the long term? Like, is this like bringing you like joy and reward? Especially because I'm a nonprofit. I feel like most people are in that kind of mindset. And some people surprise me. Like my friend who told me about 6 months, I love her to death. She is so funny. She is not about that, which is like so different for me that I'm still trying to like, I'm still trying to like relate to it. And then sometimes I really do. But her thing is like, I'm trying to work as little as possible and enjoy my life as much as possible. And her her enjoyment is like, I'm going to France, I'm going to travel. So like her thing is like, how can I find a place, where I can do my work, I can get paid well, and I can travel like and not work so much. And I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
get it. I love that for
Yes.
you. Like that's what you want, that's what brings you joy. Like yes, but for some people, they really need that they need that rewarding sensation in their work, or they need something that is like something they're trying to accomplish in their life through work or what have you. And so I'm always just testing with people where I'm just like, oh, like, is that is if this is a big deal in your life, have you thought about what you really want to do in the long run? Because just hearing inspirational stories like yours, I think it's possible for everyone, especially all these brilliant, intelligent women that have all the goods. Like that's the
Mhm.
thing with me. I'm just like, they're all smarter than me. That's what I tell them. I'm like, you're all, I know you're all smarter than me. And I don't say that to say I'm not smart. I just admire them so much. I know I'm smart and I know that they're smart and that they can do anything that they want to do, but so many people they really don't go through this exercise of just really having deep reflection about what they want in their lives and the life that they want to build, whether it be career or other things. They just keep going. They take the next opportunity that appears. If they want to make this much money or want to make a little bit more money, they apply for another job and then they get that job and then they do that job for a while, and so that's one thing I love is when people just consciously decide this is really what would excite me, would make me feel,
Right.
really really fulfilled, just being thoughtful and then setting that direction and doing whatever it takes beyond the norm, right, of what's set in front of us, to say, this is how I'm gonna do it, or what you did next, which was to start your own business. I admire you so much for that. I mean, I cannot believe how brave you were And it comes from, I think, a place of like knowing and trusting yourself, and whatever you have to do to get to that place. Um, that is a huge accomplishment where you can get to a place where you are like, you know what? I trust myself more than putting my career in the hands of an employer. That's incredible. I wish
Or
everyone had that.
even beyond that, sometimes it was trusting that I knew myself better than the people who I worked with or for and thought that, oh, well, she could be filling this role or she
Mhm.
could be doing that role.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that might be logical to you, but no,
Right.
have
Yeah.
no interest in that. Like, it was so many people like, oh, you could just go become an attorney at one of the state agencies. I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, that's not for me. Because it's too, for me, it was too easy to be in that comfort zone. And I am all about, I've always been all about how do I get out of my comfort zone? And
That's why
I
you're
did
so
it to
brilliant. Yeah.
myself all the time. Like, I went to college to become a chemical engineer. Then I was like, yeah, I really want to get to law school quicker. If I stick with chemical engineering, it's going to be a 4-year degree. If I switch to government, I can get out in 3. I'm like,
Nice.
government it
That's
is.
nice. I also, like, graduated early because I wanted to get out of college faster.
See? And it was
I was like,
also
"I'm gonna
like,
drop this and do this. Goodbye."
and for me, it was like, what was easy to me was math and science. What was not was,
Mm.
writing and communication. And
Oh,
here I
wow.
am now, a lawyer who works in politics where it's all about communications.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, but I love the idea of getting uncomfortable too. Like I don't know
Yeah.
why I've been thinking about it, but I remember applying to a job and, this is probably a cautionary tale more than an encouraging one, but the interview was so bad and, like, I was just like, "Oh my god," like, I don't know how this happened, but it was not great, and I just remember thinking, like, "Do I wish I hadn't done that, though?" And I'm like, "No, I'm kinda glad I did it because I learned a lot." Like, I know it sounds like probably not worth it, but for me, I was like, I learned a lot about what these people do and what they were looking for and the kind of people that work here and how the government it was like a government job. And I was like, just how they work in the government setting or what have you. And I was just like, it was very interesting. I didn't get the job, obviously, but it's okay. Like I got to learn a lot. And so even the worst interviews or the worst, outcomes, they're still not bad. That's why I say, like, don't be
Right?
scared. What are you afraid of? Like a little like public humiliation. Get over yourself and you'll be fine.
Exactly. I mean, I was a person who moved to California from a from Arkansas to
Mhm.
start practicing law after passing California bar. I was like, I was going to these big law firm interviews, and I was just like,
Mm.
this just does not feel right. And I remember
Yeah.
them asking, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And my answer was always the same, and it did not sit well with big city people. Let me tell you, my answer was started with, I want to be happy doing what I'm doing in 5 years. I don't know
Yeah.
what I am doing, but I know it has to provide me joy, it has to provide me happiness because that's what I need in my life.
That's so wild because that is exactly the same answer I've been using since high school. It's
Right?
so
But
wild.
it's such a
Yeah.
discouraged answer, right? Because it should
Right.
be, I see myself on this partner track within
This
5
track.
years and
Yeah.
yeah, because
That
that's what
voice.
society says and that's the rules. And I was always like,
That's what you're supposed to
"Eh."
want, which is so interesting. Like, I wonder where that comes from, but that we both have that. But I think for me, anyways, it was like looking around and seeing so many people who were miserable. Like,
So miserable, and why are they doing that to themselves? Why did they put that limitation on them? Like,
yes,
I wanna be miserable in 5 years and be
yes,
angry and frustrated with everybody I'm working with and everybody I'm related
exactly.
to and everything in my
Right.
life.
So that's
Oh,
exactly what I was like, I just wanna be happy, like, do something that makes me happy, like, that's what I want, and, people would be like, "Oh," because they were literally like, "What do you want to be?" That's what they would ask me, like,
yeah.
and they meant, like, "Do you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a veterinarian?" And I'd be like, "Happy," and they'd be like, "Oh, it's just not that's not a profession."
Right.
And I'm
And
like, "I don't care what I do."
right, and it could be that, you could be the person that is happy because you're making a lot of money and screwing
Sure,
people over. If that
yeah,
makes you happy,
hey.
that's
Live
yours
your
thing.
truth. Live your dream.
Yeah. And
But you should.
also,
Everyone should live their dream.
yeah,
Absolutely.
who plants wildflowers along highways just for fun because somebody's paying you, more power to you.
That sounds so fun.
It
I
does,
love the
doesn't it? Wouldn't it be
wildflowers.
great to see like wildflowers along every highway through every season?
Oh, that's so cute. And the wildflowers are one of my favorite part of living in Austin. Just like being on the highways is
Same.
not fun, but then when there's wildflowers everywhere, you're like, oh, it's so sweet. It's so cute. I love it. Sorry, I went
Ah,
completely, I got distracted by the flowers.
no,
But yeah,
that made me
I
think
think
of something.
everyone really should. Go ahead.
I don't know. The wildflowers made me think of something. This is, I'm going to continue on your tangent for a second before we return, right this ship to where we were headed. Uh, on Twitter, there's an Austin-based account called Evil Mopac, and Mopac is a highway that runs north-south through our city. So, and right
Evil
now
Mopac.
we have a festival going on called Austin City Limits, big thing that I think a lot of people know about. And there's a joke that everybody who shows up to Austin City Limits wants to move to Austin to, see the wildflowers or whatever it might be. And the joke this year was on Evil Mopac's Twitter account was, might be uh, inflation prices are high, housing prices are high in Austin, and that means only 89% of the people who attend ACL will want to move to Austin, down from the high during 2019 of 95%, right?
Yeah,
But there are so
probably
many
true.
reasons to want to move to Austin. I don't think we should limit people who move to Austin because I think it's great when more people move to Austin because growth is a good thing.
Absolutely, and I keep thinking about all the wonderful people that are like, just bringing new ideas, new cultures, new
Yeah,
again, it's about diversity for me. It's like the more minds, the better, and the more for diverse minds, the better. Like the more diverse experience, the better. The more diverse cultures, the better. I learn something all the time from people of different cultures, whether it's, person to person or even in articles like that article I read that talked about how a leader I think it was a tribal leader of some sort, like, didn't even speak until everyone else in the meeting had already spoke. I love that. I'm so obsessed with
yeah.
that. I'm, like, trying to find a way to make that a thing because listening is such an incredible skill that is not held up, in our capitalist society, and whatever else you wanna call it, like, whatever our society is about individual responsibility and meritocracy of some sort, like, it's all about, speak first, be strong, show
And
confidence,
have
and
like the loudest voice.
yes, have your ideas go through and get credit for it. You know what I mean? It's very like Gunner law school type of level type of energy. So like, that unfortunately to me is just I don't buy into that. I don't think that's how you get
Neither
get
do
best
I.
results. I really think that we are just stronger as a collective and again like I just think that we're doing a disservice to ourselves by buying into this culture. A lot of times people think that they're not promulgating one culture or another, but we are. Like we're defaulting. Like I said with nonprofit structure. Why are we defaulting to corporate structure? Because that's the default, right? Like that's just the norm. And so anytime that you're not being intentional, then you are defaulting to whatever that norm is and that is, a culture that's been promulgated through society in some way. So I would say, we have to notice that and then be thoughtful and also like, challenge people on why are we doing the things that we're doing in this way. And if it's Tesla's favorite answer of because it's the way it's always been done, you got a good starting point for change.
Right? I think
Yeah.
you make a great point about diversity too, right? Like the more different cultures and ideas and people and at a table, the better the decision making.
Yep.
Because it isn't that this is how it's always been done. And one of those seats at a nonprofit meeting should have the idea that about corporations, but not everybody should have that
Right.
idea. It should be a
Right.
idea, not the idea.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, and how do we encourage people to break through that? I feel like there's probably so many people who might listen to this who, are in a place where they think that they don't have any power.
Hmm.
They don't have decision-making power, they don't have authority, they don't have a way that they can influence the culture, and I would just challenge them to realize that, just speaking your truth is extremely powerful.
And
That's
you do
something.
have
Mhm.
you have control over that, and you have authority
Exactly.
over that. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, and if you're not being heard, like, demand to be heard.
yeah.
Because if you're a part of an organization, no matter how small your supposed role has been, determined to be, um, first of all, it doesn't mean that you can't, kind of grow in the margins, first of all. I'm all about pushing little boundaries that I've been given. But also, you can for sure influence the conversation. Just when you're invited into a room, into a meeting, what have you, if you have access to people that have decision making power, you could influence their thinking just by bringing up something that they've never thought of. And they've never thought of it because they are not you. And they have not had your experience and your life, just your life, your background, your all of what you are and who you are. They just haven't had that same experience. So you have something to add. You have something of value to bring.
And I would add to it, don't be afraid to repeat yourself,
Yes.
and don't be afraid to bring up those ideas separately to people
Yep.
and then bring them up in meetings,
Yes.
because it takes, you know, the people who walk into those meetings with the ideas of how things should happen didn't just, invent them when they sat down at the table. Someone talked to them and they figured it out, or that person read something. So be that source of information for that person. And if they don't listen to you the first time, maybe they listen to you the 10th time. But don't give up. It's that
I love that.
persistence
Oh,
that
that
really,
such good practical advice. Oh, I love it so much. Yes. And I mean, the other thing you should know is that when people sit in meetings, you might think that this is like Tessa said, some spontaneous, amazing track that just happens, and it's not. I
no.
can tell you for sure that anyone who's leading a meeting has already talked to several individuals in that meeting beforehand, and
Hmm.
they've kind of set it up, where this person's going to say this person's going to say that, that person's going to agree with them, like, I guess I can't say that for sure in every meeting, but I'm just gonna say it's pretty common. And you know what? It's also smart because
It is.
it's hard to wrangle a group spontaneously, right? Without any context. And so it's good. It's a good thing to be able to discuss. And so if you think that, um you don't have any ability to influence people, it's not true. You absolutely do, whether it's people that you're close to, people that you can at least get their ear, maybe you can add an item to the agenda or whatever it is, or maybe you can just maybe there's an opportunity for people to just speak up. Just be prepared to say what you want to say.
And don't limit yourself to thinking that everybody has to speak up in the meeting. Remember, you could talk to them beforehand or afterward.
Hmm.
And if you're more comfortable starting that way, go for that. Don't be afraid
Absolutely.
and limit yourself that, hey, I can't follow up or I can't talk to this person beforehand. Yeah, you can.
Yeah. And if the culture is such that, they don't allow for free talk or questions or answer sessions or whatever it is, if you have to ask for permission, just ask for permission until you
Yep.
get what you want. Because just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done. And so I can guarantee that, you have something to offer, you have something to say, and there's so many structures that set us up to hold back and to
Hmm.
stay silent. And I really I feel like it's so oppressive in a way where you just, this is where people get really frustrated and then they're venting, in different places because they don't really get to be heard. And the truth is, if your leaders or people with authority, more authority than you maybe, don't allow for that, they're actually hurting themselves. So you're doing them a favor by bringing them information and bringing them insight before it becomes something negative, and something toxic.
And realize that, hey, if you're there and you're providing information to these people and ideas that you think are great, and you realize that your leadership is toxic, Lots of jobs out there. Just apply for another one.
Yeah, or make your own.
Exactly.
Or find new
100%.
people. Yes, like Tessa did. I mean, that's such incredible. Like it just opens up the world of possibilities. And so it's all there for you. And if you know, but I do think that going back to how we limit ourselves, I mean, we know that there are ways that people limit us in a lot of ways, and it could just be culture being passed down. But I think the most important limiting thing that is out there is when we limit ourselves as individuals and we tell ourselves we can't do something before we even try.
Yeah.
So, you know, that focus is, in my opinion, the most important because once you know that you have value, that you have worth, that your opinion matters, that your life experience matters, that your lived experience, like all of those different things that you understand now that have value. Once you know that, once you really know that, really believe that, all of the other stuff, like you'll find a way around that. You'll just be like, "Hey, I'd like to have a meeting with you. Can we talk on Tuesday?" You know, like it won't even be a thing that will hold you back so much as the structure. When you really have that confidence and you know you have something to add, I think the rest of it kind of follows.
And if you don't think you have that confidence or that value, I am the first person to stand in line and say, you do have that value. You do have a unique skill set because you, only you, are you. And Tessa's here to support you and say, you can do this. Don't freak out. You can do it.
Absolutely, and I'm right behind her. And we love you all and believe in each and every one of you. And we just want y'all to have that exact same confidence and understanding of how valuable you are. So we appreciate you being here and continuing on this journey with us. And really, this is why we do this because we want that same feeling that we've gotten with each other to be in each of you so that you can walk through your life and in your purpose and step into your greatness without any hesitation from yourself or anyone else.
I couldn't agree more. And I hope you all find it and I hope you all see it because we see it in you. So until next time, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.